You're always very warm and you're very kind and generous in complimenting people. So it sounds very great to hear from you, but it doesn't feel that person. Uh, Thank you so much for having me here. It's always a learning experience and a challenge to prepare for this session as well. So, whenever possible, if there is a question or a reflection, feel free to unmute and contribute because co learning is the only learning.
Right
And
now, they can type on chat. Would you like me to unmute all of them?
no, no,
Uh,
no. Typing
because we
on
are
chat,
recording the session. If you tell me at any point of time, I can unmute.
I will let you know. But
Okay.
contributing through chat is also welcome because
Okay.
co learning is the only learning, is what I genuinely believe in. Um, should we begin or do we begin with a prayer or something, Vaniji?
Would you like to chant a prayer?
Yes, I think we can all begin with a small prayer. I would want you to lead me though in prayer.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Good evening, everybody. Uh, it is great to always start a session with a small prayer. And today, since we've begun with the uh, shlok which reveres our gurus, we will also listen to a story again about a king and his guru. So there was once a young prince who was happy in his life. He had a his father had a small kingdom, and of course, he began his life as a small young. He was absolutely comfortable. He had had a comfortable life. He had gone to the Gurukul, learned all the Shastras, learned weaponry, and learned everything else that a prince should, and came back to the comforts of his palace. He would have his regular hunting missions. He had a good, healthy friendship with a lot of friends around, and he was in the best environments that one can hope to be in. And as is with most of our lives, one day adversity struck. And adversity struck in such a way that this young prince's whole life was turned upside down. His whole world was turned topsy turvy. His father lost his life in a war, and the responsibility of this small kingdom fell onto the tender shoulders, not so ready shoulders of this young prince. And the young prince was obviously lost in grief because one, he had to digest the loss of his father, and two, he had such an overwhelming responsibility on his shoulders. He knew not what to do. He had a wealth of friends, but at such times, no words can fill in the hollow that is created by someone losing a parent. And so the queen had her own difficulties. She was grieving the loss of her husband, and the prince was left to console the kingdom, the subjects, his own mother, and himself. In all of this, he was completely lost. Some older ministers of the kingdom held his hand and kind of managed the kingdom for some time, but it could not go on, right? However, in his depression, in his loss, in his confusion of what he could do to help people around him, the prince failed to do his duty as well. And so everything around him started deteriorating. The health of his mother, the state of his palace, the motivation and enthusiasm of his subjects, the overall kingdom. The subjects could not go farming, the rains added to their woes, the crops were suffering, the animals were suffering, the soldiers had lost motivation, and the whole kingdom was in shambles. And so everyone around started believing that this prince is a useless prince. This king, our new king, is a useless king. He's a good for nothing fellow who cannot do anything, who cannot think properly, who cannot have that confidence of decision making to make the kingdom work. And everyone started talking about it. And as it reached the king's ears, he also started believing in it that, oh, maybe I'm not cut out to be a king. Maybe I'm not meant to do this. Maybe I'm really a good for nothing fellow. Maybe I'm a timid, stupid, weak king who cannot overcome a small adversity in his life. Maybe I'm really this. And as he started believing in it, he saw that he became more and more irresponsible to an extent that he started finding it difficult to even get up from the bed, leave alone going to the courts. So all the ministers became wary of his absence. The king was present and yet absent. And as you would believe and think, corruption started coming into the already dissembled kingdom. And everyone started becoming more and more selfish. More and more selfish people were replaced in the courtroom. The negativity attracted more negativity, and the kingdom started to deteriorate to an extent that the kingdom was extremely impoverished. There was no growth, there was no learning, and everybody was, the whole kingdom was kind of like we have heard in the story of Sleeping Beauty. Everyone was in a slumber. Everyone was in a situation where they were not finding a way out of this situation. And one day, as the king was lying in his bed, and he remembered the story that his guru had once told him. And I think all of us have remembered that story. All of us know about that story where a king was defeated many times and he finds a place to rest in the cave. And then he is inspired by that little spider who climbs up, falls down, and climbs up again, and falls down again, and yet climbs up, and yet falls down until it finally is able to succeed in building its nest. And his guru had told him that the moral of that story was try and try again until you succeed. And how this king in the story was inspired by the spider and went out again, fought another battle, and won the battle for his kingdom. Remembering this story and thinking of his guru, the king woke up, literally, and folded his hands in front of his guru's idol, sought forgiveness from his guru, from his mother, from his subjects, and from God himself, and set out to work. And from then on, he started small steps at a time. He started training first. He got his physical ability back. He learned his weaponry again. He had to go through a lot of struggle for all of this, but he did it. Just like a butterfly comes out of a cocoon with a great struggle, even this king came out of his own cocoon of grief, depression, and negativity to transform into a more able king. And then things changed. The gloom of the kingdom lifted. People became more motivated. They became more enthusiastic. When they saw their king come out into the open and work, even they started working. And slowly, very slowly, the arc of fate changed. And the kingdom started becoming more wealthier, richer. Slowly, the farms and the crops started growing. The kingdom started flourishing. It attracted more merchants. The king built better roads. The king built better facilities for travelers. More and more people started coming in. Everyone started sharing their expertise with each other. The king started having sabhas for learned people. So the kingdom also started attracting many wise sages, and a lot of growth, learning, popularity, and flourishing started happening in the king's kingdom. Slowly, the word started going out that, oh, everything is changing. This king is not as useless as he used to be. He is a better person now. And there is so much that's happening in this kingdom. It became a hub of all cultural, learning, merchant activities, trade activities. And so everybody started looking forward and everybody started coming into this kingdom. Now the king started feeling very happy. He was contented. In the meantime, because of all of this and the popularity of his kingdom, there was a um, proposal from another neighboring king. And this king, our king, got married. He had now a beautiful queen. The kingdom was happy. There was great celebration, a lot of pomp and show in the kingdom. And everybody was celebrating. And slowly the gloom had completely left the kingdom, and the kingdom had become much more happier and a flourishing place, a thriving place to live in. Soon after the wedding, about a year later, the couple, the king and the queen, were blessed with a beautiful young prince, and celebrations were galore. All people were happy. There was more and more happening. The king now was bestowed with another responsibility of bringing up his child, bringing up the young prince to become the next king. And so he started thinking of expanding his wealth, expanding his kingdom. Now, expanding his kingdom would need expansion of army. It would need more superior and strategic rules in place for trades. So there was tax collection on the goods that were being manufactured in his kingdom. There was tax levied on students who came from other kingdoms and studied in his kingdom. He became more and more protective of the knowledge that he had. He became more and more protective of the arts that his kingdom had. And he started fortifying his army. And slowly he realized, oh, I have such a big army and I simply feed them, but they're not doing anything. Let me get the army to work. Let me go and attack or invade neighboring kingdoms and make my kingdom grow more and more. People started talking about him. Oh, this king is a very enterprising king. He is a very brave king. He is a very ambitious king. And he started listening to those things and believing those things that, yes, I am very ambitious. And ambitious he was, because he then started waging wars against the smaller kingdoms around his kingdom. And there were many wars, and there was bloodshed, and there was suffering, and there was sorrow. And sometimes when this king would go on his chariot, looking at all the bloodshed and suffering that he had caused, he would feel certain pangs of guilt in his mind. But he would just ignore it because he had a vision. I have to be the greatest ruler of this country. I have to expand my kingdom to such an extent that my son never has to go through what I went through when I had no one to bank on. I had to build everything up from scratch, but my son should not go through the same troubles. So he went on and on and on, conquests after conquests, bloodshed after bloodshed, suffering after suffering, ignorance after ignorance, no time to enjoy the peace, calm, and wealth of his own kingdom, no time to spend with his young prince, no time left to spend with his queen. And whenever he would come back from a conquest, he would be very happy because he had won another kingdom. And uh, people of another kingdom were now bowing to him and calling him, "O great king." But every night, as he would sleep, and every morning, as he would wake, the happiness would wear. And the ambition would kick in again. Now what? What next? Many times the queen tried to tell the king that it's enough and that they have enough for a lifetime and that they should probably just not do any more of this. But the king would not listen because every victory had given him a kick. Every victory had enhanced his ego, and that was the kick that he was looking for. So after every victory, the happiness would last over a night, and the next day the king would start wondering what next. And so it continued, and it continued until one day the king sat under a tree, feeling extremely tired. He was looking at the number of animals that he had picked up from his recent war. He was looking at the pots full of wealth, jewels, and gold that he was carrying home from the place of conquest. And he was thinking to himself, why is it that I don't feel happy enough? This particular spot where he was resting reminded him of a spot by the stream in his Gurukul. And he thought of his Guru. And he thought that, oh, it's been quite a while I have not met my teacher. Let me go back and talk to him because my happiness is not long lasting. Why is it that after every conquest I feel happy, but in the morning I don't? And why is it that I look for another conquest after conquest? And why is it that I don't find peace when I rest? And so the king decided to pay a visit to his old guru. And so the procession, full of soldiers, full of the wealth, full of the animals that he had amassed from his last conquest, proceeded to the ashram. As he entered the ashram, due to respect to his guru, he took his crown off, washed his hands and feet, went and washed his guru's feet, paid his respects to his guru, and sat down by his feet. As he gazed into that wrinkled face, and as the face gazed back at him, the king started crying. And he cried and cried and cried until the guru's hand ran over his back and calmed him down. And then the guru asked him, "O king, what is it? What has happened?" And then the king said, "The last 40, 50 years of my life have flown by, and I have still not understood what makes me truly happy. What is it that will give me lasting happiness? What is it that I should do in order to feel peaceful when I finally sit down and rest? Why is it that I become restless so soon after having run behind and achieved? I prepare so hard for every conquest. For every war, there is strategic planning. For every war, there is a lot of expense. For every war, there is so much preparation that goes in. And every war results in bloodshed and suffering. Sometimes I feel guilty and yet I'm unable to stop myself. But I feel it's like a mirage. I feel I will feel happy and yet I don't feel the happiness. And if I do, it does not last. Oh Guru, please help me. What should I do? Where should I go so that I find that peace? It's been 40 years and I've not had peace. And that's when the Guru tells him this. I'm going to show you some slides and take you through the king's story again. Okay. Vaniji, will it be possible for you to confirm if the screen is visible?
Yeah, it's visible, Anagha.
Okay, thank you. So the Guru starts with this, Yatha chittam tatha vacho, yatha vachas tatha kriya. As is the mind, so is the speech. As is the speech, so is the action. O Prince, here is where you began your journey. You told yourself in your mind you were depressed, and so was your speech, and so was your action. So you lied around in your kingdom until the kingdom went to shambles, until everything that your father had built got destroyed. But then you did a great, brave thing of courage. You picked yourself up and you built everything from scratch, which was good. When you heard people that you are great, greatness is what you achieved because you believed that you were great. Yat bhavo tat bhavati. You become what you believe. And then you took it too far, right? Um, the meaning of this shloka is given down. Aropyate shila shaile yatha yatnena bhuyasa nipatyate sukhenadhastathama gunadoshayoho. Hauling a rock to the top of the hill is incredibly difficult, which you did, O prince. You picked yourself up from nothing. You pushed the rock up to the top of the hill, and then you just let it go. You could not stop yourself in time. You could not wait there. You could not maintain that composure. And so the rock rolled down. You rose with good qualities, but because you took that yearning, you took that ambition, you took it too far, you could not stop yourself, you didn't know where to pause, is why, due to that single misdeed, you fell down. And your character arc changed from being a very popular and good ruler to being a very ambitious and ruthless person who just wants to have conquests and add kingdom and after kingdom to your already existing kingdom. If the conscience feels guilty, one minute, about an act, that act is of sin, is of tamasa quality. Tamasam gunalakshanam. When you know, when there is that inner voice inside you, which tells you that, I'm feeling guilty, then that is your red flag. And that is where you should have probably stopped. Yat karma krutva kurvanshcha karishyam chaiva lajjati tadnyeyam vidusha sarvam tamasam gunalakshanam. You should have probably heard to those guilt pangs, paid attention to those guilt pangs, and thought about where am I living, where am I, what is all this leading me into, and where am I going. You did this. If you see, this is the life cycle of a butterfly which they have shown on the top, and the shloka here means Prathamen arjita vidya, Dvitiyen arjitam dhanam, Trutiyen arjitam punyam, Chaturthe kim karishyasi. What can you do in the fourth part of your life? If you have not done gaining of knowledge in the first, gaining of sampatti in the second, dhan in the second, and gaining of merit in the third. You did all of this, O king, but unfortunately, you didn't know where to stop. Ati trishna na kartavya, trishnam naiva parityajet. Shanaihi shanaihishcha bhuktavyam, swayam vittamuparjitam. Extreme yearning should be avoided without rejecting desire itself. There is desire, and it must be. There must be ambition, but in measure. Exercise yearning in moderation. One should steadily enjoy self earned wealth in moderation. Your queen would tell you, O king, maybe it is time to stop. Maybe it is time to pause. Maybe it is time to enjoy and look around and look at how your child is also growing. But you, in your urge, in your ambition, in your bid to become the greatest ruler, would not pay attention. So, extreme yearning should be avoided without rejecting desire itself. Do that work with great effort by which your soul feels the satisfaction and happiness. So, when you ask me a question today, that what should I do, O Guru? This is my answer to you, okay. Do something that sets your soul free. Do something that makes you feel satisfied and happy from within. And do not do the work which does not give you satisfaction and happiness, even if people around you advise you to do it. Even if your ministers feel that that's the best strategic move, do it only if you well and truly believe in it, and if it brings santosham to your own mind, to your own soul, And if it feels right, then you must do it. Otherwise, listen. Listen to that guilt that tells you that this is the wrong thing to do. Then this is probably time to stop. The mastery over mind results in control of relationship with everything from atom to cosmos. So this is what also the guru tells the king, that do work with great effort and do that work which brings your soul satisfaction and happiness, as also look at control. Employ moderation, find the right balance, and for you to be able to find the right balance, for you to be able to exercise moderation, for you to be able to hear that inner voice which tells you that this is probably not the right thing to do or that you're taking it too far, it is important to have a great control over your mind, to be able to exercise that control so that all your relationships, from everything, from your relationship with wealth, your relationship with success, your relationship with your subjects, your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with your family, must be brought together, must be protected by the control that you can exercise on your mind. O Prince, let noble thoughts come to you from all directions. Repeat to yourself that I am the receptor of all noble thoughts. I receive everything that is positive and I want to drive out all that is negative. Slow down. Very important. Slow down. Take a pause. Breathe. Reflect. What did I do? What did it help me with? How did it harm me? How can this become a unhelpful habit in future? Is it really all right for me to give myself such concessions? It's all right one last time. It's not that big a deal after all. Do not entertain such unhelpful thoughts. Instead, let noble thoughts come to me from all directions and let me be open to receive them, to think about them, to reflect on them, and not close myself and say, no, this is the direction that I want to go, and I don't care about. You know what the king did? The guru tells him that, what you did when these thoughts, noble thoughts, were coming to you in the form of guilt, you shut them out. You wore blinkers and you went on your um, single isolated path of ambition. So let noble thoughts come to me from all directions. Entertain noble thoughts, O king, says the Guru. And lastly, he also tells, Sarvam Paravasham Dukkham, Sarvam Atmavasham Sukham. This is the only definition of happiness and pain. Everything that is in my control, I can change. And when I hear myself, when I have clarity of thought, when I have the spontaneity of emotion, I am able to listen to it. I am able to pay heed to it. And I am able to control it or change it. So everything that is in my control, I can change. So I needn't worry about it. And everything that is in control of others is always a source of unhappiness, because we have expectations from others, but others' behavior or responses are not in our hand. So there is no match between what actually happens and what I expect to happen. So there is a gap. And because of that gap and my expectations not being fulfilled, it becomes a source of great pain to everyone. It is all in your hand. What is in your control is in your hand. And therefore, if we are able to gain clarity, gain the spontaneity of emotion, then we are going to be able to live life fully, and we are going to be able to get that clarity. How do we get that clarity? You see the 5 deepams here, right? You see 5, all of us. So this is what the Guru told the king, and I tell you that each deepam signifies each area of yourself. And this is what the Guru told his Shishya. O Prince, as you go home today, light these 5 diyas. Each diya indicates an area of your own uh, wellness. You have been doing a lot for other people, but you've never reflected. You've been fighting a lot of conquests, but you've never reflected. You've never looked back. You've never looked at yourself. You've never looked at your people. So if you are unhappy, no one around you is happy. If you, despite doing all of this, is unhappy, your queen is unhappy. Your prince is unhappy. Your people are unhappy. Despite having so many riches, there is only unhappiness and yearning, because unless there is self care and clarity of mind, there cannot be moderation. Moderation comes out of self care, moderation comes out of clarity of thought, and clarity of thought comes out of self care. We have to understand this equation. If we have to be moderate in all our decisions, in all our behavior, in all our thoughts, moderation comes from clarity of thought. Clarity of thought comes from self care. So, King, your self care is extremely important. And self care is different from selfishness. When you put your own comforts before someone else's needs, then you are being selfish. But when you put your own needs before someone else's comforts, then we are caring for ourselves. So there's a thin line, but a line nevertheless between selfishness and self care. Now let's come to these 5 diyas. Each diya represents an area of health or an area of well being. The first one is your physical health. The second is your emotional health. The third is your social health. Fourth is your occupational health or professional health. And the last one is your spiritual health. I think before this we have discussed this holistic self care, but let's understand it a little more deeply this time. Can someone chat in the window and tell me what is going to happen if if these diyas continue to glow like this and we don't add oil on top? What's going to happen if we stop adding the oil? When the oil gets over, what's going to happen? Nobody? It will douse, yes. When we don't pour oil in it, it will douse. Now, when you are living your daily life, right? When you are living your daily life, because of the stressors that we face every day, because of the different life situations that we face each and every day, the oil is being consumed. Like when the light glows, when you are fighting, when you are living, when you are um, facing situations, when you are consuming the energy, the light glows. And when you are consuming that energy, the oil level goes down in the diya. Now, when the oil level is very down, what happens? The flame becomes bigger and it becomes a restless flame. It's not a steady flame, right? Is it a steady flame? No. For the flame to be steady, there must be enough amount of oil in the diya. Everyone agrees with me? Our health is like that. While living our life, while dealing with things each and every day, day after day, we are using up the oil. We are using up the fuel. And the only way to keep the flame steady and healthy is to keep adding the oil. And keeping adding the oil is equal to self-care. How do I add oil to my physical health? By ensuring that I have some physical goals in mind. Healthy eating, eating on time, sleeping on time, ensuring that I do some amount of physical exercise, whatever it is. So I have to keep adding the oil into the physical health diya. And this is what the Guru told the king, that when you go home, you light these 5 diyas and ensure that you put oil in each diya on a regular basis. If not every day, at least weekly. If not weekly, at least. Emotional health. Where do we get our emotional health from? What are the activities that make me feel emotionally secure? Could be spending time with my family, could be writing down a journal, could be attending a music class, could be attending a bhajan class, could be attending the Vaniji's meditation circle. It could be anything that could give me that feeling of support. It could also be doing something for someone else. I gather students and I teach them because I'm a retired teacher. Excellent. That is something that gives you a sense of well-being, a sense of goodness. So that is your emotional health. Social health, engaging with other relatives or friends on a regular basis, helps you feel socially secure, helps you feel that there are people around me, and keeps your social health also at a maximum. It adds oil to your social health kadiya, right? Occupational. How do I stay in touch with whatever I was doing all these years? It could be social service, it could be community service, it could be doing something at home, it could be spending time in painting because painting was my hobby, but I was never able to paint because of my fast life or busy life. So that could be my um, um, space, or that could be my activity from where I derive professional or occupational well being when I fill in oil into that diya. And the last, but definitely not the least, is the spiritual one. What are the activities that I do which will help me in my spiritual health? So the king also started to create his own calendar for mental well being, for emotional well being, for self care. So he would exercise every day. He would ensure that he spent time with his family in the palace gardens, royal gardens, once a week. He ensured that he took his son horse riding so that he could spend some quality time with his son. He also ensured that he gave feasts for people who were underprivileged in his kingdom, ensured that he distributed blankets to the poor who were living outside on the footpaths in the winter. That ensured his social and emotional well being to a great extent. He always ensured that he put oil in the diyas so that the diyas never doused. The diyas always kept glowing, illuminating his happiness from within. Right? We'll go back to the slides. So the five diyas representing five aspects of self-care: physical, social, emotional, occupational, and spiritual. And very important concept that when we use up our well-being to live life, we use up the fuel from these diyas. And so it's extremely important for us to keep pouring oil in them. Otherwise, those diyas will get doused. This is what I explained, the self-care Sudarshana, which is another way of remembering the five areas of self-care: physical, emotional, social, occupational, and spiritual. Because unless we keep these diyas glowing, we cannot annihilate the darkness within. And only when the darkness within is annihilated can true happiness glow. Satyanandaha antarataha vidyate. Can we all now have a small activity to do? It would be great to hear from all of you all one or two goals in each areas of self-care. One or two goals in each areas of self-care. Physical, social, emotional, occupational, and spiritual. Just put down one or two goals for each area. Think what is it that you can easily do. It may not be on a daily basis, it may be on a weekly or a monthly basis, and share with us. Adiji, it would be all right. If it would be all right, please unmute, allow them to unmute themselves so we can listen to them and have some interaction maybe.
Sure, I'm unmuting them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Serving to
They're
patients.
unmuted. You're all unmuted. You can talk
Whenever
to
you
us.
want to talk, you can unmute yourself and talk. Yes, serving to patients, pranayam, physical exercise every day, excellent. What are the other things that you can do? If you all are already doing these things, think of something that you have not done all this while. Maybe there was something that you always wanted to do but could not find time. Maybe now is the time to start. Maybe you always wanted to learn painting and you could not. Maybe now is the time to start. Yeah, we have some interesting responses on the chat. Physical exercises every day, serving patients, pranayam, counseling, meditation, communicating with people, teaching what we know, social service like representing our area problems, excellent. Finding the answer to know the reasons for existence, excellent. Volunteering. Okay, all of these are good for your social health. Is there anything that we can think of for our personal, for yourself? I'm sure the kind of people that we have here are compassion embodiment. Everyone is compassion personified. And I know that all of y'all have done a lot in your life for your family members and for the community around you. I mean, yes, I can definitely say that. What is it that you can do for yourself? What is it that you want to do for yourself, which all this while you thought was selfishness? Learning to sing, excellent, excellent. Attending satsang, very good. Things that you want to do for yourself, which you haven't done, which you might want to start. Reading scriptures and attending satsangs, okay. Listening to red flags like guilt feeling, okay. All right. Staying happy and contented, okay. Gardening, oh, I was just saying that and someone wrote, give attention to myself. Yes, gardening, very good. Hobbies, think of your hobbies. Think of when was the last time that we spent time in a hobby? Learn singing and learn Sanatan Dharma and Vedanta, okay? When was the last time that you all really, really spent time for yourself? You did something because you wanted to do it for yourself, not for anyone else. Writing a diary, 2 years back painting, okay. Do we all identify with this emotion that many times we do things because we have to do them? Don't know who says you have to, but we do things to meet the social expectations. Can I have a show of hands to vote? How many of us vote that predominantly, majority times we do things that we have to do because it is the social norm or it is the social expectation? Yes, many times it happens. Okay, one of y'all are saying no, which is also okay. But many times we give in to the social expectations. Many times we do things that we don't really believe in because it is a social expectation. Many times we do things because that is what is expected of us and not because we really want to do. Right? So, when was the last time that I did something for myself, exclusively for myself? Can some people here share what you all did exclusively for yourself?
Reading something which I really enjoy, and
Okay.
also listening to some good music which I wanted to do but didn't find the time. Now
Okay.
I'm free to do it, so I want to do it.
You want to do
Such
it.
things.
Excellent. Very good. Spending time with pets and gardens. Yes. Let's go back to some of these slides here. Have we all had situations where we felt like this? As is in the mind, so is the speech. And as is the speech, so is the action. Have we experienced this happen to us? I can't read because I'm sharing. I'll have to stop sharing, unfortunately. I'll keep the slide like this.
I can read it for you.
Okay.
So Ramamani says yes.
Okay. I
And
have I have toggled the windows, so don't worry. I can see it.
okay.
Yeah, I will share it again, right? Can anyone, is there anyone who would want to give us a few examples from, a few relatable examples that we probably see in everybody's life? Do we believe this? Yat bhavo tat bhavati. You become what you believe.
Definitely yes.
Definitely, yes. Yeah. Many years ago,
Definitely, yes.
yes. Okay. I'll share a small snippet from my life. When uh, I came to Bangalore way back in 2012, I was recently married, but I had always been living in Maharashtra, and I was a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, and I had worked in hospital setups. So, in Maharashtra, of course, I did not have an issue because I knew my mother tongue, Marathi. But when I came to Bangalore and I started applying in hospitals, I was very disheartened because everywhere there was Kannada compulsory. And it was not going to be easy for me to learn Kannada that fluently that I should be able to understand the distress of my clients in that language. So I used to see that as a very big, very, very big hurdle. And I used to think that, oh, what is going to happen to me? I'm in a profession that requires this comfort with clients so that they are able to share their distress with me. And we are all comfortable more in our mother tongue when we share our distress with people. And how am I going to manage? But then I mean, it was difficult, but then somewhere started believing that, okay, started visualizing that this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. Today, by God's grace, I understand a lot of Kannada, though speaking doesn't come very naturally to me. But I'm sure if I practice it with a lot of resolve and if I believe I can do it, I will be able to do it because yat bhavo tat bhavati. Anyone has had any experience like this where you've believed and you've really been able to do it? Had faith in the journey and it happened.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
we had
Would
that
you
practice.
share? Yes,
As
yes, sir. Yes.
as we went to some movie and we see the movie, what the moral story we have learned and started adapting to that in our life. As well as
Okay.
also the attending person, what we have learned, we have to adapt. Adaptation is very good. Even Bhagavad Gita says you adapt not only Shravan, Manan or this one, then only you will get a happy life.
Yes, yes. True, true. That's what. If we don't bring it into action, then it's not going to happen. Absolutely. Yes. This is also something that this is also something that I really, when I was reading on what we should be doing in this session, I came across this and I thought it is very, very powerful. And all of this has been adapted or taken from, borrowed from our own scriptures. Some of them are from the Hitopanishad, some probably are from some other source which has not been mentioned here. But there is so much that is written on the topic of psychology and philosophy in our scriptures, in our culture, in our shastras that is not found anywhere else. And when I read the new therapies, I mean, so-called new therapies that are cropping up in the form of neuro-linguistic programming, cognitive behavior therapy, dialectical behavior therapy, solution-oriented, trauma-focused. There are n number of therapies that I read, but I'm always able to relate it to something that has been given to us already by our great, great ancestors. So it's amazing to see the wealth of knowledge that, you know, um, there's so much psychology in the Bhagavad Gita itself. So it's excellent to, think of every concept and borrow it from here. And y'all are the experts in this field than me because I am probably a psychology expert, but you all are the scholars of Vedanta, and it's so nice to be here with all of you. Yes, yes. Bhagavad Gita is definitely the best example. And we were all told, isn't it? As at least I was definitely told when I was a child. My grandmother used to always say, do everything, but do it in moderation. Don't shy away from doing anything. Try, do everything, but use everything in moderation. Do everything in moderation. Even if you're reading, you must not only read, and only read. That also might become a not so good example, right? Yes. Yes, sir, you've raised your hand.
Yes, madam.
Please go ahead.
So I'm a doctor and retired now,
Okay.
but I came to my son's house now. But I am happy doing what I have not done, cooking. Started cooking. I feel very happy and passing time, and I feel very happy to cook and learning that.
Oh, nice. So sweet. Very nice. Great. Yes. Even in this slide where the um, guru tells the king that, you've done all of this, you've achieved your knowledge in the first part of your life, you've gained enough wealth in the second, you've also gained a lot of merit in the third. So now what can you do in your fourth part of life? Yes. um, Rama ma'am has written something very interesting here. My father used to bless everyone, you get just enough of what you are aspiring. It took very long to understand that. Yes, too much is also not okay, and too less is also not okay. And to be blessed with whatever you are aspiring for in just the right quantity is indeed a blessing. Definitely. Yeah. Any other reflections before we can conclude? Anyone else wants to say something? Please go ahead. There is a hand raised. I am not able to figure out which participant has raised the hand. Please go ahead, Preeti ma'am.
Yeah. I came from Bombay in 85 and we didn't know anybody here. And I used to wonder how I'm going to settle down. But at the back of my mind, I knew that I can really enjoy myself in course of time. And what am I supposed to be doing here? Why have I been brought here? And then I realized it is for the spiritual knowledge, which I had never a background for. And today I'm so fortunate that I'm in one of Vaniji's class and so many other teachers. It's really wonderful. Now I realize it's very fulfilling to look back and say, yes, I was brought here, my children left, but now I have a time to grow myself, and which would be in sphere of spirituality.
Absolutely. Yes, I would definitely agree with you. And this reminds me of a story. So when the um, whole war of Mahabharata was to be fought, there was this little bird. And this little bird, sparrow, mother sparrow, she went up to Lord Krishna and she said, I have a nest on this tree and this tree stands in the middle of Kurukshetra. I don't know what's going to happen to my birds, my babies. I surrender myself, O Krishna, to you. And Krishna tells her that, okay, Mama Sparrow, you just do this, that you just, for 18 days, have enough food in your nest. And so the mother sparrow decides, okay, I'm going to blindly follow Krishna. Krishna's saying, there's a war going to happen. My nest is in the middle of the Kurukshetra. It's such a small nest. I can't even store enough food on that. What do I do? But she surrenders her whole life to Krishna. She tells her babies that, I'm going to do what he asks. All her fellow friends say that, you're foolish. I mean, there's no chance that any of our nests or any of us are going to survive this horrible war. Look at the size of their armies. But the mother sparrow does not leave her faith. She tags onto it, she holds onto it, and she puts some food in her nest. And sure enough, on the day of when the war is about to begin, Krishna takes the bow from Arjuna, and I'm aware that Krishna had vowed not to pick up a weapon in the war, but this is before the war begins. And he fires and he shoots an arrow. and the arrow goes and hits an elephant, and the bell from the elephant's neck falls on the nest and her little the little baby sparrows and the sparrow. And Arjun laughs at Krishna and says, "You could not even aim at an elephant." Krishna, of course, does not answer at that time. And after the whole war is over, he pulls Arjun and he says, "Come with me." And they're walking around the bloodshed and the bodies of soldiers and decapitated parts of the bodies and all of that. And Arjun says, "What are you looking for, O Krishna?" But Krishna does not answer. Of course, what he's looking for is the bell. And after so many days, when the bell, he finds the bell, he picks the bell up. And when he picks the bell up, the mother and her babies fly out of it. And she circles around Krishna's head 3 times and leaves, and so do her babies. And that's when he tells Arjun the story of this mother sparrow. So, sometimes, like Preeti ji said, it's very important for us to understand that maybe we are also under the bell, and maybe it's not time for Krishna to as yet pick the bell up. And when he does, we will find ourselves in the right place, in the right shape. Yeah. Suggestions, reflections, questions are open. Vaniji, I think I have done my bit. Over to you.